and Aaron, this, honestly, when I wanted to bring this in, I was thinking of you. And I think you'll find out why if you read it. Because one of the other definitions, and some of the other commentaries on this teraphim were, again, this one commentary gave this really vivid explanation of, it's the severed head that's mummified and has gold engraved on the tongue and underneath and little sigils, and I mean, it was like really absurd. I mean, and it was something that would be consulted. I mean, it could be like an answer. It wasn't even like an enemy type of thing. It's like your ancestor. You took and you preserved your ancestor. It was like, put on the mantelpiece. It was like, well, let's go ask Uncle Bob. And in fact, and where they make this distinction, or where they give some credence to this idea, and especially that it was a human skull. This is my point. Because it's what Milcah, or Michael, Milcah, is it Milcah or Michael? No, David's wife, Micah uses and puts in the bed to the teraphim to make them think that David was in bed. It was human. It was recognizably, or it was able to be seen, mistaken for a human. So, there's a range of possible things that this teraphim is and purposes.
Well, he wasn't able to find it, and she was able to sit.
I know, and that's, now, although, if you look, wait, she's on a pretty big hump there. If this is the definitive picture of the
That's
scene.
an artist's rendition of the incident.
Oh, you have little faith.
Kodak on the bottom.
Okay, now, here's my point, and this is, I think you were bringing this up. Do we still use fetishes?
What is a fetish?
Well, it's one of the, sort of the translations, this teraphim, they use the word fetish. Now, fetish,
Rabbit's foot.
a rabbit's foot is an example of fetish.
A wishnik?
Yeah, or would they have the god's eye or whatever, would that be, that's not actually a fetish. Is that kind of like a fetish? Could you,
What?
Something you're just drawn to.
a four-leaf clover?
What about it like a dream catcher?
That's what I meant, was a dream catcher. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but, and this is why I mentioned you, Aaron, is the cross. I know that steps on a lot of toes, potentially steps on a lot of toes, but is it any different? It's much more widely accepted, but does it have any other different, really any different purpose? Now, yeah, the Magen David, I guess, if you look at it, could also be considered the same thing. I mean, yes,
I think most in society today, I don't think most people use it as a
Divinity.
fetish. I think they use it as a,
representative.
this is what I believe, and I'm proud to announce that.
Mhm.
And
Rosary beads.
yeah, it's something that a person has to take to God and has to study out for themselves. Am I offending Yahweh by because the cross is harder, because there's nothing in Scripture that says,
That it's
you
wrong.
were worshiping the cross of this God, where he does say you were worshiping the Star of Remphan. So the cross is a harder one. I'm not saying that it's acceptable, I'm not
Right.
saying it's not.
Right.
I'm just saying that most
Yeah, and I didn't
people
bring this
use
out to be
those
definitive
things-
either,
no.
but yeah.
I'm just saying that most people use those things as a sign of, this is who I am, not as a fetish. And that's something that we as individuals need to be very careful and research that out and pray about.
That's my point. That's my point. Anything, I mean, I've got a menorah right here. okay? I think I could make a case for that representing Yehovah, okay? But, can it become a fetish?
Sure.
Absolutely,
There's a lot of in
Absolutely.
our society now, all kinds of
absolutely.
symbols, so many.
And I think that's
I don't even
my,
know what they mean.
that's my point in bringing this up, is to be careful. What power you give a symbol, basically,
Oh, sure.
you know?
They just don't bow down below.
I mean, yeah, to represent, remember that it's a symbol. But it's not the symbol, it's what it represents that hopefully has the significance.
When I was growing up, the skull with the bones was poison, now it's fashion. It's
You could
viral,
also
marked
say-
stuff poison with
Yeah.
the bones, and now it's fashion, I've seen that.
Yeah, oh,
See
sure,
every-
oh, yeah.
You could also say how much power we give a symbol, but you could also say how much power we give a thing. Well, because some of us place a lot of power and a lot of importance in things.
You're not talking about Thanksgiving turkey.
Or you're not talking
Holiday.
about my, you know,
Well, we were having the
Mercedes
conversation-
AMG, are you?
We were having the conversation in the parking lot about cell phones.
I think one of the things that we need to consider is that it's easy to wear a symbol that says, you know, I'm a Christian, but anybody can wear that symbol.
Yep.
Does our life truly cause people to know that we know Yahweh, that He is our God? Or are we just wearing a symbol?
Right, is it just, you know, I mean, obviously, there's a big difference between me wearing my San Francisco Giants hat and being a San Francisco Giant.
What he says is, you know my people by their fruit,
Yep.
Yes.
not what they're
Wearing.
outwardly
Right.
displaying,
Right,
you know.
But there's people like the skull, the advertisement, skull candy in Mexico, that's they worship like voodoo, it's
it's absolutely.
the death of Muerte. I never knew that, I'm like, oh, okay, but
Well, you
that's
know,
like a saint for them.
It's,
Well, that's
the
what
cross
some
could represent,
society now puts more emphasis on death than they do
Yeah, I
life,
think it's cool.
mhm.
you know.
I think that's an integral element of it too, yeah.
you know, the cross to some may represent the death and sacrifice of Yeshua, but to others, it may represent the glorification of a Roman death device. You know, it all depends on what you're looking at and how you're looking at it.
Yeah.
But all you got to do is we'll start David, and you're gonna get controversy, you're gonna get people asking you all kinds of
Mhm.
things, and who are you, you know, this and
Well,
that.
and I think
It's a witnessing tool too.
Yeah, true,
But
true.
the thing is that, you know, that is the Star of Remphan
Yeah.
that's mentioned in Amos and Acts. So when, that is one thing where a lot of people think they're associating themselves with Israel, but they're placing a pagan god symbol upon themselves.
That Star David?
That's Star of
Mhm.
David,
Yeah.
yes ma'am.
Oh, this
Yeah,
is
that's why-
interesting.
that's why-
I was gone over there.
Yeah, no, but that's why I think it's important to be really aware of any symbol that you use to represent or to
Why would
represent.
where did it get started at?
40
That was
40
the Star-
47,
Star of David.
they
Is that
actually,
what-
wasn't there a
is
guy
that what
here in the
David
United
used?
States that,
My Haley's handbook
There-
said that this
There
is
is a
what.
book called The Six-Pointed Star, and you can get it on Amazon. It's not very thick, but it'll give you all the information on
Haley's handbook's where I
it.
found mine.
It-
It said-
It was the Star of Remphan, and that's what, you don't find it very much in archaeology until the time of Solomon. And that'll tell you right there, because he married a lot of wives who
Yeah.
were
So
practicing
David didn't
witchcraft.
use the Star.
No.
So Haley's handbook's wrong.
there's a lot of books that are wrong, so it's not that, I wouldn't hold them to any more of a,
And the symbol of the Christians is a cross, and our both of them.
And
So what-
Israel didn't want to take the star either, but the United Nations forced them to
Was
take
that
That's
it?
right.
Okay, yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
star, the Rothschilds took that star as their,
that's why I was thinking
Shield.
here.
and they
They're
were
British.
putting the money behind all the stuff that put Israel into a statehood.
Right.
So when the Jews wanted a flag, they wanted the menorah on their flag. The Rothschilds chose the star.
Oh,
Sure. Makes sense to me.
Part of the, you know, we hear people make a big stink about the pentagram, you know. If I if I came in and I was wearing a circle with a pentagram,
Mhm.
that would severely offend all of you, I'm sure.
You'd probably get a few comments.
Yeah, but if you research in magic.
You also might not get
hexagram-
married, excuse me, I'm sorry.
If you research in magic the hexagram, or which is the Star of David, that's a far more powerful magical symbol than the
Mhm.
pentagram is.
Really?
Yeah.
See, and
It's
Hitler
actually
knew what
used
he
as a
was
culture
doing.
phrase.
Hitler knew what he was doing when he placed that star on the Jews, because if you want to hex someone, you put something that belongs to them or their name in the middle of that hexagram.
Sounds like Laban's idol.
That's why they had to
Right.
put it in the middle of it.
The circle contains it, and you move it, it allows it to
Just
go
like the
out.
holidays, same thing.
Sure, sure. Okay,
That's why the Luciferians and the witches, they put the circle around it to control the demon that manifests into the center of it. If you remove that circle and just have the star alone, that's called a hex. It's drawing a demonic entity to hex that person. But we are so ignorant of the things that have been forced on people by wicked people that we just receive any religious fetish. And so this is where we have to go back and say, Father, please show me what is of you. And I don't want to just blindly accept and receive the traditions of my forefathers, because that's what got this society where it is.
Yeah.
did anybody read this, actually? Because it's different. That Micah, who worshipped Yahweh, used the teraphim as an idol, and that Laban regarded the teraphim as representing his gods, is thought to indicate that they were evidently images of Yahweh. Again, I just threw this in, I don't know that I necessarily, fetish, possibly initially representative of ancestors, but gradually becoming oracular. Again, I think what's good about this is that it's really important to recognize that something can start out one way and it can wind up somewhere else.
Well, it's just like the children of Israel, they worshiped the golden calf,
Right.
thinking that it was Yahweh. I mean, that was in their mind. We
And that wasn't
worshiping
long
God.
after they saw